Okay, so this is your semester 2 TEKS test review 2021. So simplify each expression, work on your own paper. So on this one, we're just multiplying. There's no plus or minus, so I don't have to worry about distributing or anything. So I'm just going to multiply what is alike. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Times negative 4 is 24. So I know that my numbers being multiplied are going to give me 24. So then I have t squared times t to the fourth times t to the fifth. Well, remember when multiplying letters with exponents, you add the exponents. So 2 plus 4 plus 5 is not plus 11. So I have t 11. So 24t11 is your answer. Okay. Now when we look at B, I want you to realize a lot of people think you're triple distributing here, but you're not. It has subtraction in the middle. The only thing we need to do, so I'm going to rewrite the first piece, and I'm going to distribute the negative. So minus 4c squared minus 2c. 2 negatives makes a positive, so plus 6. And now there's no more distributing, and we're literally just combining like terms. So I'm going to start with my highest exponent, which is 3. And there's no other cube, so 2c cubed. Then I have 8c squared and minus 4c squared, which is positive 4c squared. Then I have this c. There's no other, just c's. And then I have plus 9 plus 6, which is 15. Nothing else can simplify, so that is your answer. Now on C, there's plus and a number in between the parentheses, so we know again we're not like triple distributing, but we are going to distribute the 3, so I get 3g cubed minus 12g minus 6, then I'm going to distribute the positive 4, so plus 12g cubed plus 8g plus 4. And now there's no more parentheses, so we're not distributing. We are just going to combine like terms. So I have 3g cubed plus 12g cubed, which is 15g cubed. Then I don't have any squareds, but I do have just a g. So negative 12g plus 8g is negative 4g. Then I have negative 6 plus 4, which is going to be negative 2. And that's your answer. Now, anytime we see 2 terms or 3 terms and it's cubed, that means you have to write it twice. You can't just square both of the things on the inside because there's a plus or minus in the middle. Okay, so knowing that, we have to double distribute because there's nothing in between the parentheses like on the last two. So 3a squared times 3a squared. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and a squared times a squared, remember you add the exponent, is a to the fourth. 3a squared times negative 2b, well 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. A squared b, none of the exponents changed because our variables were not alike. Negative 2b times 3a squared is negative 6. Now remember you do alphabetical, so a squared b. And then negative 2b times negative 2b. Well, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, and b times b is b squared. Now, because this is why it's important to write them alphabetically, is because we can see that these two are like terms. If you would have wrote ba squared, they might not look alike, and you might not notice it, but they are like terms, so we're going to combine them. So we have 9a to the fourth minus 12a squared b plus 4b squared. Cannot simplify any further, so that is your answer. So let's look at I. I is kind of ugly. We are going to have to factor the top and bottom. Well, the top is only 2 terms, so we're going to start and just take out a GCF. 6 goes into 12, and they both have an x. And when I take that out, I have a single x left here. I took out the x and 6, so that is 2. Now, that cannot factor further, so that is our new top. Now, on the bottom, I realize that there is a GCF. 8 goes into 16 and a 48, and they all have x values, so I'm going to take that out. When I take that out, I'm left with 2x squared plus x minus 6. Now, I'm not done because technically that's 3 terms, and so I can probably snowflake it. So I'm going to try to snowflake this piece, and I'm going to rewrite it. So I have 6x, x plus 2 on top, over 8x, and I'm going to have 2 factors once I snowflake it. So I'm going to come over here. A is 2, so 2x, 2x. C is negative 6, so 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, and B is 1. What multiplies to give me negative 12, but adds to give me positive 1? Well, that's going to be 4, positive 4, and negative 3. 2 over 3 does not simplify, so that is one of my factors. However, 2 over 4 does. 2 can go into both of those. So this becomes x over positive 2. And now top and bottom are fully factored. And I see that x plus 2's can cancel. The x's can also cancel. And 6 over 8 simplifies. 2 goes into both of those, so this becomes 3 over 4 times 2x minus 3. Nothing else simplifies, so that is as simple as we can get it. Now, when we look at J, there's no plus or minus, but there is division, and we don't like division, so we need to change it to multiplication. So I'm going to rewrite the first part, and I'm going to put a multiplication, and I'm going to flip what was after the division. Now, there's multiple ways you can do this one. I'm going to kind of rewrite it. So 16 times 15, and then t squared times t is t cubed, and I have a u. That's on the top. So I didn't combine anything except for the t's, but I just rewrote it in order. So it's a little less confusing. And then I have 10 times 8. I don't know what I was about to write. I have t cubed, and I have a u. So the reason I did that is because what do we notice about all the letters? Well, they all cancel. Okay, and now I need to fix these. Well, 16 divided by 8, those simplify to each other because 16 is 8 times 2, so these 8's cancel. Now 15, 5 goes into that 3 times, and 5 goes into 10 2 times. Well, the 5's now cancel, and the 2's cancel, and the only thing that left is a 3 on top, so that's my answer. Now, if it was a 3 on bottom, it would be 1/3. I want you to realize that. It's okay for the bottom to be empty. It's not okay for the top to be empty. Now, one thing you could have done here, y'all, because this one worked out pretty, and your test is technically multiple choice, you could have done 16 times 15, which gave you 240, and 10 times 8, and then done 240 divided by 80, and it gave us 3. Okay? So you could have done it on that way because this one is pretty. Okay, now I know it's hard to realize, but this is a perfect square minus a perfect square because 1 squared is still 1. Now, they're not always that perfect. So I can rewrite this as a minus 1, a plus 1. If y'all remember, perfect square, difference of squares, sorry. Now on the bottom it's a perfect square, a minus 1, a minus 1. I can write it twice. Well, a minus 1 cancels, and I'm left with a plus 1 over a minus 1. Can't simplify any further. There's your answer. Now, I know it's different when 1 is your perfect square. I do want you to realize, what if we have a squared minus 9? Well, that would have been a minus 3, a plus 3. So 1s are weird because it's a 1 all the time. But other numbers, just remember, it's what multiplies to give you 9. That's the same number. P, y'all had a question like this on a test, except I put it in order for you. So this, I want you to realize, is not in order. And when I rewrite it, I have negative u plus 3. Now, this is u minus 3, and this is negative u plus 3. They almost look the same, but they are not. So what I want you to realize is, since there's a negative in front, we need to take it out of the pair. And that makes this positive. And a positive take out a negative makes it a negative. Well, now, u minus 3, the only thing it's missing is the negative. So now my denominators match. Remember, we do not cancel denominators when there's no equal sign. I know I put an equal sign, but when there's no equal sign in the original, you do not cancel denominators. And I'm going to distribute. So I have negative 3 minus u, and I want you to realize there's a minus in front, so minus 4. When I rewrite that, I get negative u minus 7 over negative u minus 3. And now I need to take that negative out. Okay, so I get negative u plus 7 over negative u minus 3. Well, the negatives can cancel. And you get u plus 7 over u minus 3. So again, on Q, I want you to realize that there's no equal signs. We're not canceling denominators, but we do, again, need common denominators so we can add or subtract on this one, the tops. So I'm going to have to factor this bottom right. A is 1, so I have 1x, 1x. C is 6, so 1 times 6 is 6, and B is 5. This is going to be 2 and 3. So this becomes x plus 2, x plus 3. Well, this is x plus 2, so the only thing it's missing is the x plus 3. So we're going to multiply. So now our common denominator is x plus 2, x plus 3. Order doesn't matter, so if you wrote x plus 3, x plus 2, that's fine. And I have 2x plus 6 minus 3. And that gives me 2x plus 3 over x plus 2x plus 3. Nothing cancels because there's no GCF in the top, and nothing matches perfectly. So that is our answer. I've had a lot of people get confused on S, but I want you to realize it's multiplying. Do the radicals have to be the same when you're multiplying? No. Now they have to be the same type of radical, and these are both square roots, so we're good. But you can multiply the insides and multiply the outside. So 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 8 is 16. Well, 16 is a perfect square. Square root of 16 is 4. Well, 9 times 4 is 36. Now, the cool thing is this one was pretty. So you could have typed this one in your calculator, but I can't always promise that they're going to be pretty. But it's worth a check every time first. Okay, now T is different from S because there's addition and subtraction. Therefore, radicals have to match. So I'm going to simplify my radicals. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So I had a pair of 2's with a 3 left over. So I'm going to bring down my 3 root 3c minus, I'm bringing down the 2. I'm taking out a 2, and I had a 3c left. Now I'm going to break down the 27. 3 goes into 27 9 times. 9 is a perfect square of 3 and 3. So again, I have a pair of 3, but I need to bring down that plus 4 first. And I have a 3 left over and a c left over. Now they all match, but I'm going to simplify the fronts first. So I have 3 root 3c minus 4 root 3c plus 12 root 3c. And y'all, now you can just add what's in front of your roots. So I have 3 minus 4 plus 12, which gives me 11. So 11 root 3c. So on U, I want you to realize that's a fraction. So remember the bottom number is your root. So this is square root 16x to the 12th, all to the third power. Well, the cool thing is I can rewrite this. I'm going to ignore the third power for right now. Well, I'm going to leave it there so we don't forget. But something squared, and it'll cancel. Well, 4 squared is 16. 16 is a perfect square. And 2 goes into 12 6 times. Remember, power to a power. 6 times 2 is 12, so I didn't change anything. I just rewrote it. Square root cancels squares, and I'm left with 4x to the 6th power to the 3rd power. Well, 4 to the 3rd power is 64. And remember, power to a power we multiply. 6 times 3 is 18. Now, there's other methods you could have done here, and that's totally fine. Here, I want you to realize it's a negative exponent, so I'm going to right away flip the inside. So I can rewrite it as a non-negative exponent. And now again, root 2 to the 3rd power, so it's just like that one. And I want you to realize you can technically separate this. Well, the square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 16 is 4. And all of that to the 3rd power, well, 9 to the 3rd power is 729. And 4 to the 3rd power we just did is 64. Okay, now I want you to realize these are both cube roots, so we can divide before we even simplify. So 54 divided by 2 is 27, because remember, when they're both the same type of root and you're multiplying or dividing, you can combine them. So 54 divided by 2 is 27. Now I have a to the 11th over a squared. Remember, when you're dividing, you subtract, and wherever there's more is where they stay. So 11 minus 2 is 9, so I have a to the 9th, and then there was no b's in the denominator, so b to the 12th stays. Well, now I don't have a fraction, which makes my life easier, and I'm going to rewrite it as 3 things cubed, because there's a 27a and a b. Well, 27, remember you have this handy dandy paper, is 3 cubed. Now, how many times does 3 go into 9? It goes into it 3 times, so 3 times 3 is 9. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Cube root cancels my cubes, and I'm left with 3a cubed b to the 4th. Now, z is something squared, so we're going to rewrite it twice. And we're going to double distribute. So 3 root 2 times 3 root 2. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. And then remember, you can multiply the insides of the roots. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 root 2 times 4. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. And there was no other root to combine it with. 4 times 3 root 2 is 12 root 2. And 4 times 4 is 16. Well, I want you to realize 4 is a perfect square. The square root of 4 is 2. I can combine these middle two, and that gives me 24 root 2. Well, 9 times 2 is 18. And 18 plus 16 are like terms. That gives me 34. Okay, on B, same concept, except it's not squared, so it's already written for us. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times negative 2i, well, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and there was one I being multiplied. 3i times 4 is positive 12i, and 3i times negative 2i. Well, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, and I was multiplied twice. The middle two terms are both I, so they can be combined with 8I. And I want y'all to realize I squared is -1. Well, -6 times -1 is +6, and 8 plus 6 is 14. So that's all of the ones in number 1 that I'm going to do. Let's look at number 2. Okay, here we're actually solving. I want you to realize there are equal signs. So follow PEMDAS, which means I need to get rid of these parentheses. This inside cannot combine, but I do have this distribution to do, and then I can get rid of them. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times -4 is -20. Bring down everything else. And this can simplify to 5x minus 21 equals -7x plus 3. I like to move my smallest x first, so plus 7x plus 7x. So this gives me 12x, and I'm going to add 21 to both sides. Equals 24. Divide by 12, and I get x equals 2. Now, I want you to realize you can plug that in to check your work. Since there's an x on both sides, you're going to have to check both sides. So that's my left side. That's my right side. -11 does equal -11, so we did it correct. Here, again, we're going to distribute first. So 4 times x, I'm going to bring that 2x down first, is 4x plus 4 equals 6x. Well, if you struggle with fractions, you can multiply it in your calculator using parentheses. So 6 times 2 divide 3, and that gives us 4. And I'm going to combine my x's first, so I get 6x plus 4 equals 6x plus 4. Well, I want you to realize they are exactly equal. If you didn't realize that, you could keep going. And you'll realize that 6x cancels on both sides and we get 4 equals 4. Well, that's true. 4 does equal 4, but I couldn't find an x, and it's because it's all real numbers. Because the x is canceled and it's true. Now, if the x is canceled and it was like 4 equals 0, which is not true, there would have been no solution. C says to solve. Well, I want you to realize the hard part's done for you. It's factored. Do not double distribute it and make your life harder. So you're going to set both factors equal to 0. Okay, so then we solve them both. So on this one, I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I get 3x equals 1. I'm going to divide by 3, and I get x equals 1/3. Here I'm going to subtract 5, get 2x equals -5, divide by 2, and I get x equals -5/2. Neither of those simplify, and I can write them in fancy brackets in least to greatest order. Okay, so that's that one. Now this one is not as nice, but it's going to be the same concept, except we're going to have to factor it because we have a squared. I need to get it equal to 0 first, so I get x squared plus 3x minus 10 equals 0, and now I can factor. A is 1, so I have 1x. So remember, this is ax, a times c, b. A is 1, c is -10, 1 times -10 is -10. B is 3. What multiplies to give me -10 but adds to give me 3 is going to be 5 and -2. 5 times -2 is -10. 5 plus -2 is 3. So neither of these simplify because A is 1. And I have x plus 5, x minus 2. And now I'm going to separate and solve just like we did on C. X plus 5 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, minus 5, x equals -5, plus 2, x equals 2. do want you to realize there were other ways to write these. Okay. So that's that one. Oh, that's what I was saying. Okay, there's other ways to write this. So you could have wrote this, I don't even know, like that. And you could have done this one like that. Okay, let's look at G. Okay, so I want you to realize you always have to factor. So this is a perfect square minus a perfect square. I can rewrite this as x minus 3x plus 3, because x times x is x squared, 3 times 3 is 9. And I realize that this one needs an x minus 3 to be alike. And this one has nothing, so it needs both. And so because there's an equal sign, as soon as my denominators match, you can cross them out. So I have, well, 1 times anything is just itself, plus 6 equals x minus 3, x plus 3. So I want you to realize we're going to have to distribute that out because we're going to have to combine like terms. Well, I know what it is distribute out. It's just x squared minus 9. So this becomes x plus 3 equals x squared minus 9, because we just did it backwards. We don't need to double distribute it to go back forward. Minus x. Well, that gives me 3. I'm going to come over here. 3 equals x squared minus x minus 9. Minus 3. That gives me x squared minus x minus 12. So I'm going to first figure out if we can double distribute this, because I don't want to, not double distribute, goodness gracious, snowflake it. So a is 1, so I have 1x. A times c is negative 12, b is negative 1, which I can, because this can be negative 4, positive 3. And I actually have to solve that, so I have x minus 4 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. Add 4, x equals 4. Minus 3, x equals negative 3. And you always have to check to make sure they work. So what I want you to realize here is what doesn't work is what makes your denominators equal 0. Well, positive 3 add 3, x equals 3. Minus 3, x equals negative 3. That's what your x cannot be. So I want you to realize x cannot be negative 3 or 3. Well, that's negative 3, so that cannot be it. So I want you to realize negative 4, and your extraneous solution is negative 3. Oh, why did I do that? Parentheses. That one was a lot. Now I and j. So here I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. I get x squared plus 10x minus 7 equals 0. Now if you try to snowflake this, nothing that multiplies to give you negative 7 will add to give you 10. So we can't use this method. But we were taught the quadratic formula. Okay? So I can use that. So I'm going to set up, I want you to realize a is 1, b is 10, c is negative 7. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So a is 1, c is negative 7, b is 10. And you simplify each little piece. So this gives me negative 10 plus or minus. Remember, you just simplify what's under the house. 2 times 1 is 2. That gives me 128. Well, 128 is not a perfect square, so I'm going to have to simplify it using my factor tree. 2 goes into 128 64 times, and the cool thing is 64 is a perfect square of 8 times 8, so we can stop. And this ends up being, I'm going to separate the denominator because I know that this can simplify. 8 is what comes out, 2 stays inside. Well, negative 10 divided by 2, I'm going to come over here, is negative 5. Plus or minus 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now let's try J. So I'm going to tell you right now that this one's going to also need the quadratic formula. I know A is 1, B is 6, and C is 25. A is 1, C is 25, B is 6. So when I simplify each little piece, I get negative 6 plus or minus. I'm going to go ahead and simplify or separate the denominators just because I know this can simplify. I don't know if that one can. So remember, you just type what's under the house, just the way you see it. That gives me negative 64. Well, because it's negative, I'm going to take an I out, make it positive. Well, 64 is a perfect square. So I end up getting negative 6 over 2 plus or minus 8i over 2, which simplifies to negative 3 plus or minus 4i. Okay, let's look at number 3. So on these, I'm going to solve, but now they're inequalities, and it wants interval notation, which I don't know if you remember, but that is where you have the parentheses and the brackets and the infinities where it goes forever. Okay, so I'm going to distribute, so 5 times x is 5x, 5 times negative 4 is negative 20, minus 1 is less than or equal to negative 7x plus 3. I want you to realize this is just like 2a. But we're going to do it anyway. 5x minus 21 is less than or equal to negative 7x plus 3. I'm going to add 7x to both sides, which gives me 12x. I'm going to plus 21 on both sides. It's less than or equal to 24. Divide by a positive 12 so I don't flip my symbol. And I have x is less than or equal to 2. Now, this is not how I want my answer. I want it in interval notation. So if you need to, you can put it on a number line. I know 2, and x is less than or equal to. Well, less than is to the left, and equal to is a bracket. Now, that means it's going to go from negative infinity all the way to 2. Well, I want you to realize it cannot equal negative infinity, so we use a parentheses, and it stops at 2 with the bracket. Okay, let's try B. Now this one is 2, okay? So I want you to remember what you do on one side, you have to do on all 3 sides. So plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. That cancels. I still have a 3x. And these simples. 7 plus 5 is 12. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. Divide all 3 sides. And I get 1 is less than x is less than or equal to 4. So let's draw that on the number line so we can see what that looks like. So I have 1 is smaller, 4 is bigger, and I want you to read it from the x out. So x is greater than 1, and x is less than 4. Now I want you to realize, because they're both in 1, this is an and situation where it satisfies both. So it's equal to 4, which is a bracket, and it's just less than 1, so it's a parentheses. So I have parentheses 1, comma 4 bracket. Okay, so let's try C. So here's an or situation, and it tells me that. Remember, and means it has to satisfy both, and that's why over here, yes, there's an arrow, but it's not a double arrow. That's why it's not an answer. Okay, here's an or, so it's anywhere that there's an arrow. So I'm going to solve both. Here, add x to both sides. Remember, I always like to move my smallest x. Okay, so on my number line, I have a 2 and a positive 3. And this says x is less than 2. And it's not equal to, so it's a parentheses. So that's going to go to the left forever at negative infinity. And then I'm going to read from letter to number. So x is eaten, which means it's bigger than 3. It's not equal to, so it's a parentheses. And so that goes all the way to infinity. So I have negative infinity to 2, or 3 to positive infinity. Okay, so D I'm going to solve. Here I'm going to add x to both sides. This is an AND situation. It means it has to satisfy both. It's only, your answer is only where there's a double line. So this gives me 14 plus 3x is greater than 2, minus 14, minus 14. 3x is greater than negative 12. X is greater than negative 4. And minus 2, negative x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Now I need to get rid of that negative. Remember, when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, you flip your symbol. The negatives cancel. So I have a negative 4 and a 3. So x is greater than negative 4 with a parentheses, and x is less than or equal to 3. So remember, this is an AND situation, so it's only where both lines are, and they overlap right there, so it's negative 4 to 3. Okay, let's look at number 4. It wants us to factor, so I'm going to go ahead and do my snowflake. A is 16, B is negative 24, and C is 9. So I should check for a GCF first. I do not believe there's a GCF because 3 does not go into 16, and that's really it. No, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I have 16 times 9 is 144, and I have negative 24 in the bottom. 16x. Well, 144 is a perfect square of 12 and 12. Well, 12 plus 12 is 24, so I'm going to end up with negative 12 and negative 12. Well, the cool thing is that means these are going to simplify to the same thing. What goes into 16 and 12 is going to be 4. That gives me 4x over negative 3, and this is also going to be 4x over negative 3 because they're exactly the same. So I have 4x minus 3, 4x minus 3, or 4x minus 3 squared. Both of those are an option. Okay, let's look at C. Here I do have a GCF of A, so I'm going to take that A out, and I'm left with 6a squared plus a minus 15. And now try to snowflake. So a is 6. I do want to realize this would have been an A up here. I am always bad about putting X's where A's or other letters are, but it's fine. 6 times negative 15 is negative 90 over 1. So I know 10 goes in 99 times. So I'm going to have a positive 10 and a negative 9. Well, 2 goes into both of those. And I get 3x over 5. And 3 goes into both of these, and I get 2x over negative 3. E, now this is a grouping because there's 4 terms. Make sure they're in order, and they are not. So I have 10a squared. This is a degree of 1, this is a degree of 2. Plus 5a minus 3b, and now I'm going to do grouping. So what goes into 10 and 6, and they both have an a, so I'm going to take that out. 2, that gives me 5a minus 3b, Here, there is no GCF, so remember you always have to take out at least a 1. And our parentheses match. So remember, leftovers is 1, and your match is the other. Okay, 5a says write an equation only. It says 4 times the sum of a number and 6 is the same as 5 less than twice the number. Well, is the same as equals. The sum of a number and 6 is going to be x plus 6, and it says 4 times that. Because it specifies some of those two things, that's why it's in parentheses. 5 less, well, that's going to be minus 5, then twice the number, so 2x minus 5. So 4x plus 6 equals 2x minus 5. It does not say to simplify or solve, so there's your answer. If a projectile shot upward from a platform 16 feet off the ground, yada, yada, yada. Okay, read the question. At what time period will the projectile be 100 feet above the ground? Well, I want you to realize we need to figure out what S and T stand for. T is seconds, okay? And it wants to know that, so we're going to use our calculator. Go to our y equals. We have negative 16x squared plus 100x plus 16. And we're looking for where our y, our s, is 100. So, right here, which is at 1 second. If y varies directly as the square root of x and y equals 9 and x equals 4, what is the value of y when x equals 8? Okay, so when y varies directly, we know that directly the square root of x and y equals 9 when x equals 4, what is the value of, so we know here, I always draw a table, x, y. We know that x is 4, y is 9. And we know that x, we want to know this when x equals 8. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. Somebody came in here. Okay, so what I want you to realize on this one is that what it says y varies directly is the square root of x. So when y just varies directly at y equals kx, but because it's the square root of x, it's the square root of x. So we know that x is 8, but we don't know what k is. So we're going to use the 4 and the 9 to figure that out. So 9 equals k square root 4. Well, that gives me 9 equals, so that's 2, so 2k, divide by 2, and I get k equals, what is that, 4.5? Yeah, 4.5. So we know k now, and we can plug in x. Now, this gives me y equals 4.5 square root of 8. Well, 8's not a pretty number, so we're going to break it down. 2 and 4, 2 and 2. So I am going to have y equals 4.5 times 2 square root of 2. Well, 4.5 times 2 is 9, so y equals 9 square root of 2. Okay, given f of x equals this, we're going to find these two things. Well, that just means you're plugging it in, y'all. So 3 times negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 minus 1. So we're going to type that in our calculator. 3 times negative 2 squared. Remember, anytime you plug something in, use parentheses. That gives me 19. Here f of 4 equals 3 times 4 squared minus 4 times 4 minus 1. And that's negative 5. look what I did wrong. I forgot to square it. 3 times 4 squared. Oop. Dang it, what am I doing? 3 times 4 squared minus 4 times 4 minus 1 is actually 31. Sorry about that, y'all. Glad I noticed that. Not totally throwing y'all off. Okay, so it says write this function in slope-intercept form, which means y is alone. So I'm going to add 2. I get y equals, so I'm going to distribute 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 6 is 18, bring down my plus 2, which is y equals 3x plus 20. So there's my slope-intercept form, but I want to ask you, what is the slope? Remember, that's whatever's in front of x, so the slope is 3. So that was my own question I added. Find the slope and write the equation in standard form of the line that passes through these 2 points. Okay, so what I want you to realize is first we need to find the slope. Okay, all of these formulas are on your yellow paper. So I know that my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to label x1 y1, x2 y2. So negative 4 minus 2 over 1 minus negative 3. Well, 2 negatives makes a positive. And I end up getting negative 6 over 4, which simplifies to negative 3 over 2. So I know y equals mx plus b, and I know y equals negative 3 over 2x plus b, but I don't know what b is, but I know 2 points, so I can plug this in. I like 1 and negative 4 better. I don't know why. It's just what I'm going to pick. So I'm going to plug that into that. So I have y is negative 4 equals negative 3 over 2 times 1 plus b, and I'm going to solve for b. Well, negative 3 over 2 times 1 is just negative 3 over 2. And I'm going to add 3 over 2 to both sides. This one's not the prettiest. The other number is actually easier to plug in because it will cancel the fraction, so we're going to do that. No, it actually won't. Okay, so we have negative 4 equals negative 3 over 2 plus b. And I'm going to get rid of the fraction. I'm going to multiply the whole thing by 2. And that gives me negative 8 equals, well, that cancels, negative 3 plus 2b. Add 3, that gives me negative 5 equals 2b, divide by 2, and I get b equals negative 5 over 2. Okay, so knowing that, I have y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 5 over 2. Find the slope of the x and y intercepts of this line. And it does say find the slope. That's my slope, and this is not in standard form. This is in slope-intercept form, but we're just going to be done. No, actually we won't. Okay, so we're going to multiply both sides by 2. And I get 2y equals, because I'm multiplying everything by 2, negative 3x minus 5. I'm going to add 3x to both sides. So I get 3x plus 2y equals negative 5. Okay, find the slope and the x and y intercepts of this line. Well, x and y intercepts are pretty simple. Okay, we can just plug in because x intercepts are when y equals 0, and y intercepts are when x equals 0. Okay, so we can plug those in and solve for the other one. And I also want you to realize it's opposite of your slope is opposite of a over b, because this is a and b. So my slope is going to be negative 3 over negative 7, which is just positive 3 over 7. Now when I plug in y is 0, I get 3x minus 7 times 0 equals 42. Well, anything times 0 is 0. Divide by 3, I get x equals 42 divided by 3, which is 14. So my y-intercept, or x equals 0, I get 3 times 0 minus 7y equals 42. Well, 3 times 0 is 0. Divide by negative 7, and I get y equals negative 6. Skip to the back. Okay, and it says determine the number of solutions for each system. Well, we're actually just going to solve and find the solution to each system. So on this one, I want you to realize that 2x minus 3y, 2x minus 3y, these are the same thing, which means that this should equal this, but it does not. Therefore, there's no solution. Now on this one, they're not the same thing, and I'm going to go ahead and do elimination, or big addition, whatever you want to call it. So I know that I'm going to cancel the y's. So negative 2 and negative 3 can both turn into 6. This one I'm going to multiply by positive 3. And I'm going to multiply this one by negative 2 because I need to become positive, because positive and a negative cancel each other. So this gives me 9x minus 6y equals 12, negative 8x plus 6y, negative 10. Well, that's exactly what I wanted to happen, was these two to cancel, and I get x equals 2. And I have to plug it into 1 to find your y. So when I plug it in, 3 times 2 minus 2y equals 4. Well, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides because that equals 6. And negative 2y equals negative 2, which gives me y equals 1. So my solution, not like that, is a point, 2, 1. Therefore, there is one solution. Okay, now we're going to practice graphing. Now on this one, I want you to realize x is greater than or equal to 3. Well, x is 3 here, and greater than or equal to is that way, because x lines are vertical, and it's going to be a solid line because it's equal to, and greater than is on the right. Now here, I can put it in slope-intercept form, which I'm going to, slope-intercept form, so minus x, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, and since I divided by a negative, I flip my symbol. So I'm going to start at negative 3. I'm going to go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, down 1, backward 2. And I know that this is not equal to, so it's going to be a dashed line. So dashed line goes across, hello. And then it says y is greater. Well, if something's greater than you, it is above you. And you can only do that when y is alone. And there we have it.